So hello everyone and welcome to the latest EnvCast episode. EnvCast is a Society for the Environment podcast, bringing you environmental professionals in conversation each month. Our podcast is designed to provide insight into the lives of registered environmental professionals, featuring experts from across a wide range of sectors and disciplines. We explore what they do, why they do it, how they got to where they are now, and their future ambitions. Each guest is registered with us as a Chartered Environmentalist, registered environmental practitioner, or registered environmental technician via one of our professional body partners known as our licensed members. As such, they have each been externally verified to confirm that they are committed to good practice in their environmental work. To learn more about the Society for the Environment, our environmental registrations, and our licensed members, please visit socenv.org.uk. For this month's episode of EnvCast, we will be reflecting on the experience of a Chartered Environmentalist at 26th UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, held in Glasgow. SocEnv Vice Chair and Honorary Treasurer Sandra Norval, CEnv, who is also Future Growth Lead at Southern Water, attended COP26 as part of the SocEnv delegation. In this COP26 special, she will provide insights into her time in Scotland, her key takeaways from the summit, and identify urgent and essential actions for us all leading out of the conference. Clips recorded live from COP26 are incorporated throughout to add additional insights into the discussion. I'm Sarah Ridgeon and I'm SocEnv's Policy and Communications Officer. I attended COP26 alongside Sandra and I'll pitch in with my own reflections from time to time. But now is a good time to catch up with you, Sandra, and reflect on our own experience there last week. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you today and reflecting on our own experience as part of the SocEnv delegation at COP26. So, hi Sandra.
Hi Sarah, really good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again too. So if I just ask you firstly, if you could tell us a bit more about your role at SocEnv and why it was important for you to attend COP26 as part of the SocEnv delegation.
Yeah, sure. I've been Honorary Treasurer for the board for just over 2 years and was recently appointed as Vice Chair as well. So that role is really important for the Society because we sort of have oversight and governance of the organisation and the directions that we're taking. So we discuss the plans that we have for things like qualifications that we're developing and directions for the qualifications that were already in place and how we're engaging to get people to take on board what it is we're trying to do with them. So I'm really excited to be in that role because I feel that it's really important for shaping what is available to people. And I've also sort of championed diversity and inclusion as part of that role as well to expand those pathways for people that actually want to start to progress and develop their qualifications. And attending COP really gave us that opportunity to kind of expand that message and talk to some people about things that they might want to get involved with. So things like our CEnv on board, helping them understand the different qualifications we've got and our pledge to net zero as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's some really good priorities there. So if I could ask you, how would you sum up your experience attending COP26, bearing in mind what you've just said? How was it? How did you find it?
Exhausting is one word. It's huge. And I think that's one of the key things is that no attendee is going to be able to say that they attended everything. It's impossible. It was set out in 2 major zones as well as a major fringe event as well, all around Glasgow, and lots of online activity as well. So it's a case of sort of covering what you can. And I think serendipity was the other word that really sort of stuck in my mind because actually we had a number of chance encounters and finding ourselves in the right room for a really interesting discussion. That sort of thing happened several times over the time we were there. Listening to the press, there's a lot of sort of negativity and people feeling like we're not going to achieve what we need to achieve. But actually in the room, there was a lot of hope and optimism as well. So for me, I think that it was about picking up on the actual vibe in the room as opposed to the vibe outside of the room. And I think it's important to actually see both and understand where people are coming from for both, because that's going to really feed into the work that we all go on to do afterwards.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think we met some really amazing people doing really amazing things in the environmental professional field, and it was really inspiring, I thought. So I would absolutely agree with that it was a really positive experience. So yeah. So if I just move on to the next question now, You mentioned before about the kind of SocEnv priorities at COP26 a little bit, but if you could just expand a little bit more about those key priorities and whether you think these were ultimately achieved.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we had two keywords really, was competence and collaboration. So the competence piece feeds into the fact that our qualifications are all about enabling people to demonstrate their competence and grow their competence as well. So any organisation that's engaging with chartered environmentalists or registered environmental practitioners or registered environmental technicians as well, they know that they're bringing competence into the roles that they're setting up within their teams. So that was vital for us to sort of get that message out to people and help them to understand why that matters. And the collaboration piece is about working with people so that we can develop what we do and keep building it and find ways to get that work out into the wider world. So we were talking about chartered environmentalists on board as part of what we were doing. So engaging with people to promote that competence and collaboration as part of people's boards. So helping them to sort of take more and more action through those two keywords, really. And I think they're key for everyone, not just SocEnv. So I think they were really well chosen keywords for us to focus on because I think they fit that next stage of work. I think we're at the point now where everyone agrees what needs to happen, and it's now about getting it out there and implementing it, taking those actions. And it's only going to be through working together that we're going to be able to make that happen, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we've got a video now that we'd like to play from our time at COP26. So, Sandra, do you just want to introduce the clip?
Yes, so we one of the first talks we attended actually was from a chap called Tony IEMA. He was the CEO of the Seychelles Energy Commission, and the work that they're doing out there was really inspiring, so incredible, because actually they're working with the small islands development states, and as one of those islands, they're trying to set themselves out as a champion and to set the frameworks for delivering renewables in a major way to make themselves entirely dependent on renewable only. They were working with solar, they're working with wind, they've got floating solar farms that they're developing. Really inspiring chap.
Brilliant.
Hi everyone, it's really great to be here at COP26, and today is all about finance and how you're actually going to build capacity for sustainability. So we just attended a really great talk with the Commonwealth and Seychelles talking about renewable energy, and we followed that up with a conversation, and that's what we're about today, is to engage people about what we do at Society for the Environment, talking about how we support people with development of skills, helping them to fill skills gaps, and looking at how we support chartered environmentalists, registered environmental practitioners and registered environmental technicians to help people collaborate and build competence so that they can build capacity.
So Sandra, COP26 saw a number of announcements related to young people and a day's theme dedicated even to youth and empowerment. So I was wondering, perhaps you could explore the importance of this theme and how it links to SocEnv's work on ensuring and championing environmental competence.
Sure. Yeah. That was a really powerful day. The youth obviously are the future. So this is the world that we're leaving them. So it's really important that we get it right. And I think what was really exciting was just how much of their voice we heard actually at the event. Actually, we bumped into Bear Grylls as well. Shared a photo of him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, as Chief Scout, isn't he? So
that's right. Yeah. So he was there, sort of representing the voice of youth, and hopefully, kind of paving the way for them to be heard. And we did a video in front of the Forest of Promises, which was pulled together by the Scouts Association. Sadly, we didn't actually get to talk to Bear, but we did see him presenting his talks and his thoughts. But it's not just about organisations like the Scouts. It's about the youth that don't have a voice or aren't at the table. It's about those underrepresented groups that are the ones that are at the front line of climate change. So they're facing poverty, they're facing islands sinking. There was a powerful VR experience I took part in about the king tides, where an island had sunk by 2 meters, and because of that they were living with flooding every time there's a high tide, and these poor children are literally sort of swimming around in the water, and the water's in their classroom. So it's that's the stuff that we've really got to get to grips with, and recognise that it's not just about our cozy society where we're safe and we see a bit of bad weather. It's about all of that, and it's vital that we actually hear their voices, because they're the ones that have got to live with it. They're the ones that have got to find ways to earn money and make a living in that world that we're leaving them. So for me, that's really powerful stuff.
It was really powerful, I agree. And you mentioned the Forest of Promises, and we've actually got a video that you took in front of it talking about this very topic, and also how it links to the skills and our professional registration. So perhaps if we play that now, hopefully give some extra insight there. So
I'm here at COP26 and I'm sitting in front of the Forest of Promises, which is a tree full of promises made by children for the future. Of course, we obviously need adults to make promises and take action as well. But that got us thinking about our qualifications. A lot of our registrants are adults who've been in professions for a while, and of course we want more of those, which is fantastic. But actually for younger people as well, developing their careers and thinking about their futures, they can be applying for degrees and apprenticeships and getting qualifications alongside. So we have our registered environmental technicians and recently launched registered environmental practitioner as well. So these are giving us more levels where people can actually build up their careers to that longer term future. And really that's how we build that competence and potential to collaborate to create the future that we all want.
So yeah, do you want to just expand a little bit more on kind of how the link between SocEnv and skills as a whole?
Yeah, I think we play a vital role, really, providing qualifications that demonstrate that competence that we talked about earlier. And I think what's exciting is that, there's degrees that are aligned with what we're doing. So, different professions can actually do a degree and achieve qualifications alongside that. And that's through our licensed members. So they can get memberships through their licensed memberships. But then they can also achieve our qualifications alongside that. So it means that we're developing the key professions that are going to deliver the kinds of projects that are solving the real issues. So there's engineers, there's architects, there's planners, you name it. There's all sorts of environmental professions like ecology and environmental management, energy. It's all in there. And of course, water. So being a water professional, I think that's really important, that, it's our most vital resource and we can't survive without it. So it's really vital that we capture this sort of thing in there as well. So developing those competencies and enabling young people to plan a pathway so that they can get to the table and have their voice heard within a professional context is vital. So there's two bits of voice there. You've got the campaigning and the activism shouting about what needs to be fixed, but then there's also the voices that are actually doing the work in the professional situation, developing their competence through their qualifications and being able to feed in to actual projects that are happening and really making a difference. And I think that's where we're vital.
Absolutely. And I think it was interesting as well. At the conference, there were a number of announcements, weren't there, about related to young people, and particularly interesting was the announcement of the Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy for Education, which we did actually reflect on at the summit. So if I just play that video now, and it gives a bit of extra insight, hopefully, into how that links with what we're doing and sort of the very beginning of the journey of skills development and how that's really important, embedding climate change into the curriculum as much as possible. Hopefully you'll enjoy this video.
We've just heard a really interesting announcement. So Sarah, do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Yes, Sandra. So we just heard about the Sustainability and Climate Change Strategy for Education,
And one big part of that is helping teachers to integrate teaching about nature more into the curriculum. So do you just want to explain more, Sandra?
Well, we were thinking that's really exciting for us because actually our qualifications neatly follow on from that. So it sounds like we're finally getting to a stage where there's a strategy that actually prepares people at a much earlier stage, developing their career plans so they can actually plan further ahead and eventually move into the qualifications that we offer. So for me, that's really exciting. What are you thinking?
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about skills for the future, equipping young people with the skills that they need, and we all need really for the future of the environmental profession. So that's exactly what we're all about at the Society for the Environment.
Brilliant. And if anybody wants to find out more, of course, you can always visit our website at www.socenv.org.uk.
So hopefully that was a really good insight into the linkages between SocEnv and skills. So if I just move on now to the sort of another kind of really key element of SocEnv's work, which is collaboration. So we identified COP26 as a really important opportunity to make new contacts, as well as strengthening relationships that we already have with existing partners. So Sandra, could you explain why collaboration is so vital to what we do at SocEnv, and how we delivered that at COP26?
Yeah, we're absolutely rooted in collaboration, really. So we came about because of a collaboration between all of our licensed members and designing a qualification which would help demonstrate those competencies we've been talking about. And what's vital is to collaborate with employers and universities, those kind of things where they can actually help us to roll those qualifications out. So while we were there, we were talking to various organisations, again, quite often chance meetings, but also arranging chats with people as well to make sure that we could actually have conversations around our key points that we were promoting. Without that collaboration, we can't achieve what we need to achieve. It's that simple, and I think that applies to any of the actions that are coming out of COP26. It's that whole piece of we do have to work together. And working with employer champions, for instance, that's a really key part of what we do, because they're the ones that are finding the people that want to actually develop their skills and build them. And they also feed back in to tell us what's needed. So as we develop new qualifications, we're learning from them what they actually want to see. So without that piece of collaboration, then we don't get that feedback and we don't grow. So it's absolutely essential that we make sure we build those communications.
Absolutely, I would agree with that 100%. And I think it's also that sort of support, isn't it, that we all offer to environmental professionals to help them to thrive. So whether that's our employer champions or our licensed member bodies, and we did actually meet, didn't we, with Tom Pashby, a digital journalist at IEMA, yes, as well, which was really good. Do you have any comments before we play a quick video?
Yeah, Tom was great. So one of the things that we noticed was their nails. They had fantastic COP26 branded nails, and they've been shared on Twitter and LinkedIn if you want to see a picture of those as well. And it was a really important discussion because we were talking about working with IEMA and other licensed members for that piece of collaboration and setting up how we can actually develop that further, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was a great conversation.
Brilliant. And we'll just play a snippet of it now.
You've got some sort of influence on the narrative, haven't you, with the stories that you're going to be putting out there?
Yeah.
So that's a really exciting part.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is speaking to people that are working in sustainability, seeing the amazing things that they're doing, communicating that to the wider sustainability community and everyone else, and showing that there are lots of really talented people who are doing incredible work to shift things. Hopefully we can get more people doing that and help those people that are doing it do their jobs as effectively as possible.
Excellent.
So that was great to hear from your conversation with Tom. I thought it was really, really interesting. So if I just move on a little bit, Sandra, to talk about, to sort of ask you about, on top of being a SocEnv delegate, your kind of experience in general. So what did it mean for you to attend COP26, firstly as a chartered environmentalist?
I became a chartered environmentalist for a reason. it was to make a difference and to actually be in the room where some of these vital conversations are happening. It just felt like my kind of life coming sort of full circle, really. All of the work that I've put in to develop my own competence, I felt like I had purpose while I was there and contributing something useful to the society. But the other part was another one of those kind of chance moments. We met up with Becky Toll from Crowbury, and she actually introduced us to an artist called Wayne Beniti, and he had an installation there which I found very, very powerful, very emotional. And what it was he had like two pillars, and one of them had a piece of ice core which was taken from the end of the ice core, which was from the year 1875, I believe. So essentially it was when we had only 315 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. So that was trapped in the bubbles in this ice. And it was in this sculpture melting, and you could actually touch this piece of ice. It moved me to tears. It really did, just what it represented, because of course we now have 415 parts per million and we'll never see that level again, certainly not in our lifetimes. And then on the other side of the room was a sculpture where he'd worked with scientists to actually extract some of that air to put it into a little capsule, into a glass sculpture, and preserving that little bubble of air. And I have a photo which I will share of the artist's hands around that sculpture, and just the whole thing just really tapped into my emotions and just refreshed for me why I do what I do and why being a CEnv is so important to me, because it's at my core that I want to be at the forefront of action, really.
Yeah, no, that I agree completely. I think it was a really moving experience, and it was sort of the power of art, really. And I think that there's something about seeing like very visual representation of the crisis that we're facing, kind of really hit home, I thought. So if I can ask you now the same question, but in relation to your role as a water professional, so your everyday work.
So I'm only 2 months into a new role with Southern Water, so I'm future growth lead there. And the role is all about working with housing developments and planning ahead for how that impacts on our infrastructure. It's a very timely role because obviously the Environment Bill has just been ratified into law. Within that, there are expectations for improving the way that we manage our sewage outflows and how we deal with storm overflows. I know that our CEO, Ian Macaulay, is completely passionate and very committed to doing the right thing. It's one of our values as an organisation, is doing the right thing. And I know that he is also passionate about doing something about the climate crisis and playing our part within that. So these are all things that he speaks about openly and freely. So I feel comfortable that I'm in the right place and that I can now, within my role, take what I've learned from COP and from the work that I do with SocEnv as well, and really sort of embed that into the role and make a difference. One of the big things we're working on at the moment is something called water neutrality, which is the first area in the country that has been told that we can't extract any more water. So any new development has to demonstrate that it's not going to impact on that more. So we're now at the forefront of that issue and having to sort of work out how we're going to take that forward to enable developments by working with those developers. So for me, that's really exciting. But to tie it back to what I was saying about that sculpture, you know, the polar ice caps and the water cycle, it's all very closely linked, and sea level rise is going to be a part of those melting and impacting on our networks. So it all comes back round together and just fires me up. So I came away with more passion and more commitment and reinvigorated to do what I can do within my role.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you have all these different roles, but at the end of the day, it all comes back, around to your passion and dedication as an environmental professional. So it's really, really interesting. So if I sort of move the questions on to sort of looking forward, so how would you say that we can ensure that COP26 leads to the kind of tangible expert-led action that's required, that it this sort of what next question. We've had the summit, we've made the commitments. How do we make sure that those commitments actually deliver on the kind of change that we need?
I think it's key that we carry optimism and hope in our hearts. It's absolutely vital. There's things that we can influence depending on what roles we all have, and there's things that we perhaps can't because our roles don't necessarily directly relate. So for me, I'm not influencing government policy directly necessarily. So there's that conversation, and you have to kind of let it go a little bit because it's almost over there. But in that room, there was so many organizations who are all working together and launching so many things. Lots of things almost got lost in the noise. So we need to make sure we catch up on those things after the event as well, because like I said at the start, it's impossible to experience literally everything. But within our own roles, within our own competencies, within our own careers, we can all do something. We can all do a lot more than something. We know that really. We need that moment of feeling like we've achieved something, but that something can be every day. So if you achieve one little something every single day, that amounts to an awful lot of somethings. So, and we can all do that wherever we are, whether we've got a job already in the environment, whether we're developing our careers, whether we're just at school at the moment and working our way up to where we want to get to, we can all play a part. And I think that hope and that optimism has to stay with us through every single COP that we have between now and 2030, because those are the crunch dates, really. If we don't achieve what we need to achieve, nothing else matters. It's that simple.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, those are really powerful words, I think. And do you have any sort of words about the role of young people? I know we've spoken about that quite a lot already, but maybe it'd be useful just to mention that again, and the general public, I think, as well, because obviously at COP you have the kind of the delegates that are accredited by the UN, but you also have, we saw a lot of people at the protests and making their voices heard as well. And so I thought, maybe you want to say a few words about that as well.
Yeah, every single one of those people matters. It's really vital that we understand that. It was a privilege to be in the room. It was an exclusive environment. Only so many people could be in that room. And I know people who wanted to be in there but could only get to the green zone, that kind of thing. The activists could only be in the streets making their voices heard. But every single one of those roles plays a part in shifting the needle. We're all making a difference. So for anyone that is currently thinking about their future and what role they can play in making a difference, don't lose heart. Whatever the negative press says about any of it, don't lose heart. We have to really take action. And you are part of that. You're part of shaping what future work looks like. You're part of shaping your own future career, but you're also part of shaping what those future projects look like. So where there's opportunities for youth engagement, to join shadow boards for youth and those kind of things, get involved. The Scout movement is doing things, with their jamborees and those kind of things. Get involved with those opportunities and find where you are most fired up. Find that one thing that sparks you so much that you just have to act and build your career from there. Because if you do that, it's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy, of course, but it becomes that little bit easier because you're working to your passion. And you're not sitting at a desk every day hating your job. So just find that fire and then use it.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I think some really powerful words. And maybe we could just close on sort of your reflections for what you would say maybe to current chartered environmentalists, because I suppose we touch a lot on sort of young people, aspiring chartered environmentalists, but maybe the final message to current chartered environmentalists who are already doing amazing work, to keep them sort of motivated and keep them going, and keep them doing that amazing work that they're already doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that, it's so important to recognise that there's a lot of people that are tired because there's a lot of work happened already, and we have to recognise that actually so much has gone on behind the scenes to enable the actions that are happening now. I think we talked about this in one of our dinner conversations, didn't we? Where actually, there's all this work to develop the systems and drive that policy, that kind of thing. And that happens so behind the scenes that people can't see action. But that is vital, because it's that whole 80-20 thing. If you spend 80% of the time planning and 20% of the time delivering. So what the public quite often see is that 20%. And our chartered environmentalists are so involved in that 80%. It's vital work. But the other thing is, you're not alone. None of you are alone. There's a lot of us, and keep talking to each other, keep collaborating, keep in touch with each other, support each other, because actually the work we're doing is so vital.
Absolutely. And I think it's that network, isn't it? Like you say, of chartered environmentalists, registered environmental practitioners, registered environmental technicians. It's kind of that shared good practice that is helping each one of us do their job that bit better, and that's really important. And also, I'd just like to point out as well that as we've kind of already mentioned, but as ever, SocEnv is here to support all of you as well. So please do get in touch and let us know how we can help you, and we're more than willing to do whatever we can to support your work. So yeah, that's really, and that sort of brings me to the end of the podcast, of the interview, I think. Unless there's anything more you wanted to add, Sandra?
No, I'm just going to mention again, hope and optimism. If we all take that away, we can achieve a lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Great to see you again.
You too. Take care.
Take care. If you are curious to hear more about the Chartered Environmentalist, Registered Environmental Practitioner and Registered Environmental Technician registers, please take a look at our How to Become and Why Become recorded webinars on our website, socenv.org.uk. Or you can find them on our YouTube channel, Society for the Environment, where you will also find a variety of environmental webinar series and various different insights from registrants. To keep up to date with all of the Society's latest news, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SocEnv_HQ and LinkedIn Society for the Environment (SocEnv). We will release a new episode on the first Wednesday of each month, so if you are interested in our future podcasts, please subscribe to hear more from us. You can subscribe and review through a variety of platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Castbox. So thank you for listening or watching on YouTube, and we look forward to the next episode next month.